Johnny Talk Sports in with the Week 3 NFL predictions. And I don't know about you, but I think we are in for a very exciting week this week in the National Football League. We've got some great matchups, including the Buccaneers and Rams. And we got an NFC East showdown between the Eagles and the Cowboys. We've got the Seahawks and Vikings. And we have the Packers and 49ers in primetime. We also have an AFC West showdown between the Chargers and the Chiefs, which I think that is going to be a really good game. I think the Chargers defense is legitimate. I think they are for real. I think the Chargers, they are in for a much improved season. So without further ado, let's get into the Week 3 NFL predictions. As always, we begin with Thursday Night Football. And this week, Thursday Night Football features the Panthers and the Texans. And this pick seems like an easy one to me. The Texans, they placed Tyrod Taylor and Nico Collins on IR. And Nico Collins, I anticipated that he would be wide receiver 2 behind Brandon Cooks. And it's a shame to see Tyrod Taylor on IR when I was hoping he would do well this season. I was happy that he was getting another chance at being a starting quarterback after medical negligence ended his season last year. And Sam Darnold has been improving. I mean, he has looked like a much improved quarterback in Carolina. It appears that the Jets were the problem with Sam Darnold's development. And as I said, this pick feels like an easy one. I'm going to pick Carolina in this one. I really don't see this game being close. I mean, Davis Mills didn't exactly impress last week when he filled in for Tyrod last week when he left the game early. So Carolina should win this one easily. Next, we have the Washington football team and the Bills. And the Bills, they got their confidence back last week in a 35-0 victory over the Dolphins, while Washington, they picked up a win on Thursday night. So I do think the Washington football team does have a bit of an edge in this matchup, considering they are off of a couple more days rest than the Bills. But I just think that Josh Allen and the Bills, they have their confidence back. I mean, I know Josh Allen hasn't played like the MVP candidate that he was last year, but I still think it's only a matter of time. And Washington is one of the best defenses in the league. As I did mention last week, that the Bills, they have a brutal schedule to start the season going up against these top-tier defenses, but they handled the Dolphins defense really well last week, and I think they're going to do that again. I think the Bills win this one, but I'm not really sure by how much. But I do think Buffalo wins. Next, we have the Bears and the Browns. For the Bears, Andy Dalton's status is in question for this game, so it is possible that we might see Justin Fields at starting quarterback. And to tell you the truth, I think Justin Fields at starting quarterback, I think that gives the Bears the best chance to win each week. I mean, that's no disrespect to Andy Dalton, but I just feel like the Bears, they should really invest into switching it up because, I mean, the fact that Justin Fields hasn't seen much action, at least in these first 2 weeks. I mean, I know that he did step in for Andy Dalton last week, but he didn't get much action in week 1 against the Rams, which I thought maybe it was possible we could see that. Although at the same time, it's best to not really throw your rookie quarterback into a situation like that. But this Browns defense, it's still going through some growing pains. And the Bears defense, I think they had a confidence booster performance last week, picking off Joe Burrow 3 times. And I actually think the Bears will pull off this upset. I think that we're going to maybe see Andy Dalton start this game, but then they'll be down at halftime. but the Bears defense is going to keep them in the game. They're going to be able to contain the run of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I think Justin Fields comes in and he throws a couple touchdown passes to lead the Bears to the upset victory over Cleveland. So I'm going to pick the Bears in an upset. Next, we have the Ravens and the Lions. The Ravens are coming off a big win over the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football last week. Lamar Jackson finally was able to beat the Chiefs. And for the Lions, well, they had a solid performance. I mean, great performance in the first half against the Packers on Monday Night Football, but the second half, not so much. I mean, is there improvement for the Lions? I mean, you could say there's some, but there's not a whole lot so far. I mean, Penei Sewell, he's doing really well leading that Lions offensive line, doing a really solid job with that. But I just think that now that the Ravens got their win over the Chiefs, especially Lamar Jackson, because it appeared that the Chiefs were Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. And now that he beat them finally, I think this is a huge confidence boost moving forward. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this one. And I'm going to say convincingly, I think that Sammy Watkins has a big game. I think Sammy Watkins gets maybe a touchdown or two. I think this could be an ideal game where Sammy Watkins breaks out. So I will pick the Ravens to win big in Detroit. Although the Lions, they typically play top-tier teams at Ford Field really close. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw the Lions in this game from start to finish. Next, we have the Colts and the Titans. And this one, it feels like an easy pick, but it might not at the same time. Carson Wentz's status for Week 3 is in doubt. And with that, you would think you would automatically assume to pick the Titans, which maybe it might not be the case. The Titans, they don't typically have a good history as the favorite or at home. And I think that without Carson Wentz, and if they're forced to bring out Jacob Eason, the Titans would be an overwhelming favorite. But this could potentially be a trap if you're betting on the Titans. But I still think the Titans win this game. I feel like if Carson Wentz does play, I think the Colts will win this one. I will say this. If Carson Wentz is able to play, which honestly I don't think he will, then the Colts will win because the Titans defense, it looks atrocious. Even though it was supposedly improved in the offseason, maybe it really was. Maybe it's just taken a few weeks for it to come together, kind of like the Browns defense. But the Titans, they were led by Derrick Henry last week. 3 touchdowns by Derrick Henry. And I think he has another big game. I think Tennessee wins this one. Next, we have the Chargers and the Chiefs. And what a game this is going to be. I think that this Chargers defense is for real. And I think this is going to be a big test on whether or not this Chargers defense is really improved. Now, in week 2 last year, the Chargers defense did phenomenal throughout the first, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 quarters. But then the game got away from them at the very end. But all around, a great defensive performance by the Chargers in week 2 last season, especially when you're going up against the Kansas City offense. To perform the way they did in week 2 last year was impressive. And for Kansas City, they are coming off of a heartbreaking loss to the Ravens on Sunday Night Football in a game where they probably could have won. But a big key for this game is going to be third down because these two teams, they are in, I believe, the top 4 in third down conversions. So third down is going to be huge for the Chargers. Can they extend drives? Keep Patrick Mahomes and that explosive Chiefs offense on the sidelines for a longer amount of time. drive sustainability will be huge for especially the Chargers in this game. But I think this is going to be a game where Kansas City, they win it in the fourth quarter. I think I'm getting the kind of feeling that it's going to be like the Browns Chiefs week 1, where the Chargers get out ahead early. They seem to have Kansas City beat, and then they'll come back in the fourth quarter and win by 7. So I'm picking Kansas City, but I think the Chargers, they make this a game from start to finish. Next, we have the Saints and the Patriots. And last week, the Saints lost to Carolina, which honestly, that doesn't surprise me at all, because last year the Saints had a big defensive performance in week 1, and then they lost in week 2. And the same thing happened this season. They had a big performance. They had a dominant performance defensively, well, offensively as well. They won 38-3. And then they lost the next game to Carolina. So now they go on the road to Gillette Stadium to take on the Patriots and rookie quarterback Mac Jones. Well, the Patriots, even though they beat the Jets, it could be considered a confidence booster. But how much of a confidence booster could it be? Considering the defense got 4 interceptions off a rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, I'd say it could be a big confidence step moving forward. But I think the Saints bounce back, and I think they will win this ball game. Now, the Saints defense was one of the best defenses in the National Football League last year, 4th in total defense. But they did have their inconsistencies. And I think we're going to see the Saints defense bounce back. I think that Mac Jones will make his mistakes. I think Mac Jones throws maybe 2 interceptions. I think the Saints defense will capitalize on these turnovers. And that will be a difference in this ball game. I have the Saints winning this one. Next, we have the Falcons and the Giants in a game where I have to pick somebody to win this one. You know what? Can this game just be a tie, honestly, although? If you're a fan of the Falcons, if you're a follower of the Falcons like I am, then maybe it's in your best interest that the Falcons go 0-17 and lock up the first pick in the draft. And maybe draft Kayvon Thibodeau to really improve that lackluster, that not even lackluster, but just atrocious and abysmal defense. I mean, the Giants, they seem to have that better defense, by a mile. I mean, we saw the Giants defense have positive moments last year. There were times last year where the Falcons defense, they didn't give up very many points, and I think this is going to be an ideal game where we see the Falcons defense have a really solid performance. I think this is probably going to be one of only 3 times that I pick the Falcons to win a game. And if they lose this game, maybe I won't pick them again for the rest of the season. But the Falcons, they do play the Jets in a few weeks. Well, they play them later on in the season, so then I'll probably pick them to beat the Jets. But I'm going to pick the Falcons in this game. Although maybe Daniel Jones is a streamable quarterback option in fantasy this week, considering the Falcons defense is atrocious. And, this could be ideal for Shepard and Galladay to have big performances. Galladay to finally have a breakout game. But I'm going to pick the Falcons to win, honestly, because I'm still not sold on that Giants offensive line. I'm not sold on Saquon Barkley improving, although this could be a game where he looks like the best running back in the league. But I'll just pick the Falcons to win. I mean, I don't know. I had to pick somebody. I didn't really want to, but I have to. Next, we have the Bengals and the Steelers. And this does feel like an easy pick here. I am wondering how Joe Burrow is going to perform against the Steelers, because he has yet, so I believe he hasn't played the Steelers yet in his career, because I think the 2 times that the Bengals played the Steelers last year, that's when he was injured. I could be incorrect on that. But the fact that the Bengals, they drafted Jamar Chase, and the fact Jamar Chase has been a bit of a difference maker in that Bengals offense so far. Maybe they could have still drafted Penei Sewell, I don't know. But I just think that this Bengals offensive line, I think, is yet to reach their full potential. But I just think the Steelers with that ferocious defense, although I'm not sure on the status of TJ Watt for this game, I still think the Steelers will at least do enough to win this game. Probably even be a low-scoring game, depending on how the Steelers' offensive line is, because the offensive line for the Steelers is still a big question mark. But I think the Steelers win this one. It wouldn't really surprise me if we saw a low-scoring game here, like, I don't know, 14-10. I wouldn't be surprised about that either. But I had the Steelers winning. Next, we have the Cardinals and the Jaguars, and this, in all honesty, does feel like an easy one. I don't exactly know what Urban Meyer is doing with this Jaguars team right now, but James Robinson, who had a phenomenal rookie season, is not getting the touches that he deserves. And maybe part of that is because the Jaguars, they've been down the entire time in Urban Meyer's tenure so far. That could be it as well. But either way, this should be an easy win for the Cardinals. I don't really know what else there is to discuss here. I mean, the Cardinals defense, maybe it could be a streamable defense or fantasy. I don't know, but the Cardinals should win easy. Kyler Murray should have about 5 touchdowns in this game. And he further cements a MVP resume this week. The Cardinals should win easy and advance to 3-0. Next, we have the Jets and the Broncos. And the Broncos are 2-0. Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. He's getting another chance to be the starting quarterback, and I think he's really taking advantage of his opportunity. Considering Teddy Bridgewater had to step in for Drew Brees, I believe it was in 2019 where he did that, or maybe 2018 it was. Either way, Teddy Bridgewater is proving that he is capable of being a starting quarterback in the National Football League, as he has the Broncos to a 2-0 record. And the Broncos defense is much improved from 2020, which I anticipated was going to happen. That's what happens when you have Von Miller back into your defensive lineup. And there's not much to really discuss here. I mean, for the Jets, can Zach Wilson have a good performance this week? I mean, he went up against the Patriots defense last week, one of the better defenses in the league, probably a top 5 defense, and now the Broncos, top tier defense. So he's going up against 2 top tier defenses in a row. But I'm going to pick the Broncos to win this one. I'm just waiting to see if rookie wide receiver Elijah Moore can break out, if he can have a breakout performance. Because I think Elijah Moore has potential in this offense and in this league. I think the Broncos win this one easily. Next, we have the Dolphins and the Raiders. Are the Raiders for real? They are 2-0. They have beaten 2 teams that made the playoffs last year back-to-back. And they go up against the Dolphins, where quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is day-to-day. So are they going to potentially be with Jacoby Brissett at starting quarterback? And is the Dolphins' offensive line really improved from last season? Because there were talks about Myles Gaskin having a breakout season. And to really see if this improvement to the Dolphins' offensive line is for real. I mean, they're coming out of the shutout loss to the Bills. So the Dolphins, maybe they need to come out with confidence in this game. The Raiders, they have all the confidence in the world right now by having a 2-0 start. And Derek Carr is looking like the most underrated quarterback in the National Football League. And the Raiders' offense is starting to click. Henry Ruggs had a big game last week. as I think Henry Ruggs is due for a breakout season. I'm going to pick the Raiders and move on to 3-0. Again, with Tua being day-to-day, I'm just not sure what's going to happen with the Dolphins moving forward. I mean, if Tua's out for an extended amount of time, are they going to really roll with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback until he returns? Or will the Deshaun Watson to Miami rumors continue to amplify? Because they amplified a lot during the offseason. So it's going to be an interesting development, but I think the Raiders, they pick up the win here. Next, we have what is the game of the week, the Buccaneers and the Rams. I am looking forward to this one. Tom Brady has had a dominant performance so far in his first 2 games of the season, but those were against the Cowboys defense and the Falcons defense. 2 of the worst, maybe 4 or 5 defenses in the league. At least the Falcons defense is in contention for the worst. So this is the first big-time defense that Tom Brady is playing against this season. And for the Rams, Matthew Stafford is looking confident so far in his time with the Rams. 2 big-time performances as well. Cooper Kupp seems to be the go-to guy for Matthew Stafford. I mean, I'm looking to see if Robert Woods is going to find his way back into the mix. Maybe Robert Woods will get some more targets here and there. I mean, waiting for Tyler Higbee to be a huge presence in the red zone, which I think he will be at some point this season. Something to really keep an eye out on. And with the Rams being the best defense, not only in the league, at least in my opinion, but the best defense that Tom Brady has seen so far this season, I think the Rams, they might be able to create some turnovers. I mean, the Rams, they did get some turnovers off of Tom Brady last season. And I'm going to pick the Rams to, technically the upset, but I think as of this moment, it is a pick 'em at this point. But I will pick the Rams in this one. Next, we have the Seahawks and the Vikings, and I'm looking forward to this matchup as well. The Vikings are coming off of a heartbreaking loss last week to the Cardinals. Well, the Seahawks are also coming off of a heartbreaking loss because they had, what was it, a 30-16 lead in the fourth quarter, and the Titans ended up forcing overtime and suffering a heartbreaking loss in overtime last week. I think that we're in for a shootout here. I think it has that potential. I mean, we've got interesting receivers in this game. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. DK Metcalf, who has got to get going for the Seahawks offense. And Tyler Lockett. But even though Tyler Lockett is the number 2 receiver in Seattle, he's starting to evolve into wide receiver 1 so far. But either way, we are in for a shootout for this game. But I think Vikings kicker Greg Joseph, I think he redeems himself this week and makes the game-winning field goal for the Vikings to pull off the win in this one. Kind of like how Greg Zuerlein redeemed himself after missing 2 field goals and an extra point last week by kicking the game-winning field goal against the Chargers. I think Greg Joseph has that same fortune of redemption this week. Vikings win. Next, we have the Packers and the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. And I do apologize that I have the slide incorrect. The 49ers are the home team and the Packers are the visiting team. Once again, I do apologize for that mistake. Aaron Rodgers does not do well against top-tier defenses. He doesn't have the best performances. And we have seen recent examples of that. However, the Packers, I think, picked up a confidence win against the Lions last week. Even though it was just the Lions, a team that is in rebuilding mode, or a franchise that's been in rebuild mode for a long time now. I also think it's a confidence win, especially with running back Aaron Jones, who I think is due for a breakout season. The contract extension in the offseason, I think it shows that he is worth every dollar on that extension. And I think he's going to have a big performance once again this week against the 49ers. And the 49ers, they picked up both their wins this season against the Lions and the Eagles. The Lions, they let the Lions back into that game. It should have been a blowout win for San Francisco, but it was only an 8-point win. And against the Eagles last week, against an Eagles team where it's uncertain what Eagles defense shows up for the game each week. Is it going to be the Eagles defense where they look like one of the best defenses in the league, or will it be one of those weeks where their defense shows up where it's one of the worst in the league? It's night and day with the Eagles defense. For the 49ers, I'm wondering if this is going to be the game where George Kittle finally gets going. Is this going to be the game where Brandon Ayuk finally gets going? Are we going to see Trey Lance at some point in this game? We didn't see him last week. We saw him take one snap against the Lions, and it was a touchdown pass. But I'm going to pick Green Bay to win this one. I just feel like last week's win against the Lions for the Packers is a confidence booster moving forward. I'm picking Green Bay. And week 3 wraps up with the Eagles and the Cowboys, an NFC East showdown. For the Eagles, Brandon Graham, the heart and soul of that defense, out for the season. That is a big piece that the Eagles are missing defensively for the rest of the year. And for the Cowboys, they picked up what I thought was a much-needed win last week against the Chargers, as they couldn't afford to fall 0-2 on the season, even though that this is the NFC East. Now, which Eagles defense will show up to the game on Monday night? Will it be the Eagles defense that looks like one of the best in the league, or will it be the Eagles defense that looks like one of the worst in the league? And we see Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb have big performances in prime time. I think it's going to be this type of game. Now, the Cowboys, they seem to always play better at home, as this is their first home game of the season. As last week they went on the road to play the Chargers, and they're on the road week 1 against Tampa Bay. So this is their first home game of the season. And Amari Cooper typically plays better in Cowboys Stadium. I think Amari Cooper has a bounce back game. I also think CeeDee Lamb is going to get his fair amount of targets this week. I think the Cowboys, they win this one easily. So those are my picks for the week. For review, I have the Panthers, Bills, Bears, Ravens, Titans, Chiefs, Saints, Falcons, Steelers, Cardinals, Broncos, Raiders, Rams, Vikings, Packers, and Cowboys all winning this week. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, have a great day.